Hi there, I'm Dave Keller with Market Misbehavior, and here is your one chart for today. I love to ask interviewees what their one chart would be, meaning if you had one chart, just one chart to help you understand the market environment, other than just a regular chart of the S&P 500, what would it be and why? So if you ask me today, here's what my one chart would be, and it's a chart of the XLU, the utilities sector. What's interesting about the utility sector is, on a day like today, we're recording this on Thursday, February 13th, the market actually started fairly strong, pulled back a little bit, finished a little bit in the red, even though small and mid caps were up a little bit. But on a day when the market was holding up just fine, instead of it being led by offense, it was actually led by the defensive sectors like utilities and real estate. So when Utes, real estate, consumer staples are number one, two, three, it feels a little bit more like a rotation to the defensive side of the ledger. But if you look at a chart of the XOP, it's actually held up beautifully. This is one of those times when just looking at the price itself doesn't give you the whole picture. If you look at the price of the XOU over the last year, you can see it's been making a consistent pattern of higher highs and higher lows. We had this basing pattern in the fourth quarter of 2019, a consistent resistance level just around $64.50 to $65 for the XOU. Finally broke above that and broke to new highs the first couple weeks of 2020. Since then, it once again has pulled back, just a little shallow pullback here in the last couple weeks, and now once again, new price and new closing highs for utilities. So overall, that seems very constructive. I mean, if you just looked at the price itself, you'd probably feel pretty good about the chart looking that constructive. Two things to think about though. Number one, if you look at the momentum, it's maybe not as potentially attractive. The RSI has become extremely overbought back here at the end of January, meaning the upside momentum was so significant. And when something becomes extremely overbought with an RSI above 80, what that usually means is a bit of a pullback and then a resumption of the uptrend, at least one more leg higher. That's sort of where we're at right now, I think, with the XOU going to new highs once again. The RSI now on the daily chart is at 77, which means it's really close once again to that extremely overbought level. So if the RSI gets above 80, that's why this is my one chart today. If the RSI gets above 80, that means that the upside momentum continues to be so strong, you may have a bit of a pullback, but then a resumption of the uptrend. What's interesting though is the relative performance at the bottom, or the relative strength. What you see here is even though the price has been up and to the right, the relative strength overall sort of range bound, because there are plenty of times when things like technology, semiconductors, biotech, consumer discretionary all have outperformed. They've been, even though they have also been in an uptrend, they've been accelerating much more than utility. So overall, the relative strength is much more constructive. However, you've seen the relative strength break out in January, pull back a little bit, and now just starting to turn higher. So overall, relative strength seems pretty constructive right here, actually. So overall, you have price making new highs. It's above two upward sloping moving averages. The RSI was recently extremely overbought, and the relative strength profile is starting to turn kind of constructive. So overall, seems like a pretty attractive chart. What concerns me is that this is in a very defensive part of the equity space in utilities. So you have a good price chart or a constructive price chart. You have a healthy dividend component. These are stocks that tend to pay a pretty good dividend. So the question is this sustainable? And so that's why the XOU is my one chart for today. If this sort of thinking about investor routines, investor decision-making and behaviors of interest to you, I hope you hit subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on my Market Misbehavior channel. Thanks so much.